Hey guys, it's Herman here from Sans Minds Magic, and welcome to the Instagram project. Now that you're watching this explanation, you're going to learn how to pull things out from your Instagram photo into physical reality, and you just drop that in their hands and it just leaves them in absolute awe. All of these effects are incredibly exciting to learn and also super fun to perform, especially since you're using your spectator's borrowed phone, so there's nothing suspicious about it. They will have no choice but to follow your Instagram account and check out your photos only to find that there's nothing fishy about them. They're just normal photos on your Instagram. And it's a beautiful thing that you're performing magic and also gaining a fan base on your social media. So all you can do is benefit from this. It's awesome. And what I love about this is that because you're using a phone as well, it's so relevant, you know, and it makes it so intimate because people are so intimate with their phones. They use it for everything. So they're so familiar with it. And then once you borrow it and perform this miracle, now whether you're pulling objects out or even dragging a tattoo onto your own arm or even your spectator's hand, we're going to cover everything you need to know so you can get the most out of this project. And you're going to love every single one of them, I promise. So, with all that being said, let's dive right in. Now let's talk about the secret of the effect and also how to prepare yourself so you can perform the effect. Now in this case, I'm just using the playing card as an example, but it depends on the design that you are using for your presentation. But just to expose how this is done, this may look like a photo on Instagram of me holding a playing card, but actually it is a transparency. Dun dun dun, the real culprit as to how this effect is done. So what's actually on my Instagram is just a simple photo of me holding nothing. Actually, this is Jason's thumb, so this is Jason holding nothing. And I stole his photos. So he has ESP photos, Rubik's Cube photos, all that good stuff. Right now, I'm just using the playing card as an example. So once you apply a little bit of moisture onto the transparency, and you slap it on the phone like this, it'll stay in place. Doesn't matter how you move it around, it'll stay in place until the moment where you want to produce the playing card or whatever object you're using. So basically you're just loading an object underneath the phone and then you're pulling the transparency away and revealing the actual object itself. So that is the secret of how the effect is done. So let's talk about how you can prep your own transparency so you can pull out various objects out from your phone. Now to prepare yourself to perform the effect and make your very own gimmick, you're going to first need to buy some transparency. Now whether you're buying it online on Amazon or you're going to your local stationery store, they're very easy to come by. You can just buy a stack of them for dirt cheap, and once you have obtained that, you will print out your desired design onto the transparency sheet. Now in this project we provided you with a PDF with all the designs that you will need and also a mirrored version of that as well. And what's going to happen is you're going to print them out onto the transparency. So if you're producing a playing card, then you want to print out the normal design and also the mirror design, because what's going to happen is you're going to cut them out and you're going to glue them together. Now whether you're printing with inkjet or laserjet, you want to print on the matte side of the transparency, not the glossy side. That's where you're going to be putting some moisture onto and it'll actually stick on the phone. You want to print on the matte side so that the ink stays there. So what's going to happen is with the regular image and the mirror image, once you cut it out, you're going to want to slap them together so that matte sides are facing towards each other. That way the ink actually stays in place and you're making sure that it doesn't come off when you're performing this effect. Now what you're going to want to do is once you put them on top of each other like a sandwich, what you're going to want to do is you're going to lift one side up, you're going to put some super glue, you're going to dab it on one corner, and then you're going to do the same for the other couple corners to make sure that it's secured in place. You don't want to super glue the entire matte side, the entire piece, otherwise it's not going to look very good. You just want to dab a little bit on the corners. Hold it there for a couple seconds, move on to the next corner, you dab a little bit, move on to the next corner until you're finally done, and it's going to look something kind of like this. So as you can see, there's a playing card design. There are a couple super glue dabs just right on this corner, and then that corner, and the other corner that I'm pinching right now. And I highly encourage you to cut everything out and do everything on a white surface or on a white piece of paper so that you can actually see the design itself. Otherwise, it's kind of tricky for you to trim it in precision. And once you dab the super glue, you can just clean up some of the edges so it looks like an actual folded up playing card. Now, once you have your transparency set, whether it is the playing card or the ESP symbol, the Rubik's Cube, etc., you want to take a photo to upload onto your Instagram. Now when you take the photo, you're just basically, as you can see from this photo right over here, with the fingers, like this. You just want to take a photo on a blank, table or a wall of just your hands holding onto an invisible card. So you take a photo, just like that, and you want to crop it so that it works with the dimension of the transparency. So once you slap it on top, it actually looks like you're holding onto a playing card and it looks deceiving, just like that. So you'll want to play with the ratio a little bit before you actually go ahead and upload it onto the Instagram. You can even use a proxy Instagram, just make a fake one and test it out before you actually, play with this effect. Now once you have the transparency and the photo uploaded onto your Instagram, you're ready to rock and roll. Now a few quick things I want to talk about transparency in general, no matter what object you're using. One is glare. Now you want to prevent any, harsh light, like in the studio and facing it away too much. Otherwise, it'll look kind of strange if you keep it there. What you want to do is that in almost 99% of scenarios, if you're performing this in daylight or you're performing this in a dim environment, as long as you're facing it to the spectator, it'll look very convincing, as if it really is a photo. Like, without a doubt, this looks like a photo. It doesn't look like a transparency on top of a phone. So don't worry about it, especially since your phone is usually in motion anyway. So even if there is, quote unquote, a bad angle, they're not going to be able to catch it because it happens in motion. And they're so convinced that it's a photo, so when you actually interact with it and pull it out, it looks absolutely stunning. Another thing is screen brightness. You'll want to play around with it a little bit depending on your lighting situation. Now if you're performing during the day, of course you want to make it super bright. Now in this case, on camera, this is completely blown out. So indoors, I kind of want to keep it a little more dim. Just play with it a little bit to make sure that it is actually realistic looking and looks very clear for the spectators to enjoy. So that's it, guys. Now that you understand the principle of the transparency and how this all works, let's get into the application. Now let us go over the handling for this effect. Now in this handling, I'm going to go over a basic direction in terms of where you can take this, in which the spectator picks a card and then you reveal a prediction on your phone. And it doesn't make any sense because it's a folded up card on your Instagram, but you shock them by pulling it out from the photo and then unfolding it to reveal that the prediction hits. And it's a basic presentation, however, it hits very hard and it's a very powerful one that will just leave people with their brains fried. So let's get into it. Now let's talk about the things you need and the setup. Now because you'll be forcing a card, you're going to need a duplicate card, one that is in the deck, and one that you'll be folding into quarters, just like so. Okay? And this is going to match with the orientation of how you're going to be placing this photo. So like this, and this will be going into your left pocket, easy for you to retrieve and load under the phone. And you're going to make sure it's the right orientation when you take it out. And you're going to be able to feel for it with your thumb. You're going to make sure that the flaps are, towards your thumb in this case. So I'll put that in my left pocket. This deck can be in a case or in your pocket, so you're always ready to rock and roll. Now this transparency is going to go in the same pocket that you're going to be ditching your deck later, whether it's in your front pocket, your front jacket pocket, doesn't really matter as long as you can easily get it into a clip position. Okay, so for now, I'm just going to put it in my front pocket as an example. You're going to force a card, the same card that you pre-folded into your left back pocket. So if you don't know a basic card force, I'm going to teach you one right now. It's going to look something kind of like this. You're going to ask them to say stop anytime. Oh, right over here. Check this out. The Ace of Hearts. And then you just lose it back into the deck. Now, basically, wherever they say stop, you're creating the illusion that wherever they say stop, you're basically pushing out that card. But in reality, it's just the top card because you're doing a swing cut. But when you do it very casually, like it doesn't matter, then it becomes very deceiving. Let's say they remember the force card, and then you lose it back into the deck. And that's it. You're going to ditch the deck into your pocket, doesn't really matter. And no matter where you ditch it, whether it's in your front pocket or your jacket pocket, you have to clip this transparency into this position where it's between your index finger and your middle finger. Now, you might want to play around with it and maybe you're more comfortable in other fingers, but I find that clipping it between your index finger and middle finger is the most optimal or most comfortable position for me. And I just have my thumb over there to clip it in place, and then basically when I come out with my hands, I just say, hey, does anyone have a phone? And I just casually have my hand to the side, all loose, and just have it dangle so that, you feel very casual and very natural as you're asking, hey, do you have a phone? And of course, you want to make sure that your palm's facing down so you don't expose the transparency. Make sure the back of your hand is facing to your spectator's eyes. And you just have it to the side, keep it close to your body, and say, hey, do you have a phone on you? And when they give you their phone, you want to make sure they unlock it already and pull up Instagram. And what you're going to do is you're going to basically load this underneath the phone, and you're going to do so by keeping the palm facing down so they can't see it, okay, so you don't expose. And then right over here, you're going to turn your wrist around and you're going to basically feed it underneath the phone. So underneath the cover of the phone, they won't be able to see anything. You can be pretty free about it. You can open up Instagram and just be like, okay, let me just search up my Instagram over here. So while you're typing it in and you find your Instagram, what's going to happen is you're going to move the phone from down here to an up position. And when you do so, you're going to keep a grip of the phone, but you're also, if I do a bit of a close-up here, what's going to happen is the transparency is going to shift over like this, so it clears the phone. You're going to basically rotate your hand like that, and the transparency is going to go on top of the screen, so at an exposed angle, it's going to look something kind of like this. You're going to basically load it on top and feed it through with your thumb like that. Okay, so one more time. Basically, it's going from here to here. Okay, and you're basically keeping it in place with your left thumb. And at this point, you can just fake tap and do whatever you want. But what's going to happen in reality is you're going to find the photo that you want, and you can click through the transparency to do so. And that's the one where I'm gripping the object, in this case, a sign card. And this transparency being on top is going to stay in place. And you're basically going to position it so it looks like I'm actually holding a playing card right over here. And once you have it in its lovely, ideal position, you're going to basically slide up and down, make sure that, look like you're looking for the right photo or something along those lines. And then, one final tap and you show the card. And your presentation would be something along the lines of, before I met you today or before I saw you today, I was so sure that you're going to pick a specific card that I took a photo of it and upload it on Instagram. And that's when you show them the photo. And that's when you retrieve the sign card that is in your left pocket, okay? So as you lean over and show them the photo, your left arm is out of sight, and that's when you reach into your back pocket and have the card in your hand, palm and finger palm. So it's just resting on your fingers and you're just closing it and just in a relaxed position, okay? So your palm is going to be facing down so they can't see the card, and as the focus is on, the photo and how convincing this looks, it's like, this is actually your card. You get a couple laughs out of that because, it's a folded up back design of the card. So obviously it's not exactly their card. And what's going to happen now is you're going to basically load this card underneath the phone. And how you're going to do so is you're going to make sure that your palm is facing down up until the point where this phone has a nice little coverage. And then you're going to twist your palm up and feed the card underneath as you basically pass the phone over from this hand over to the other hand as you ask for their hand. And that's what you're going to do next. You're going to ask for their hand. And again, make sure that this is the right orientation. You can feel for it with your thumb in your pocket if it happens to rotate or anything like that. Just rotate it back into place before you feed it underneath the phone. And you ask for their hand. And once they take out a hand, basically you're going to readjust the phone. And as they're taking out their hand, you're going to readjust the position of the phone so it's easy to grab the card out. And how you're going to do that is, in this case, okay, now because I'm using Android right now, it doesn't matter if I sweep left or if I sweep right. It's not going to do anything. But if I sweep up and down, it's going to do something like this, right? It's going to move around. So you want to be careful of that. You just want to move it to a side. Now on an iPhone, I know that there is one direction where it'll go back to the home page and the other direction is safe. So you might want to play around with that before you actually go and perform this effect. Now in this case, I'm going to rotate the phone while keeping a grip of the card underneath the phone over here. And I'm going to grip it like so. because this is personally how I would like to hold my phone before I actually pull it out. So I have my index finger gripping on the bottom over here and my thumb keeping it in place, and then my other fingers are just kind of keeping a nice little grip of the playing card. Now what's going to happen next, I'm going to tilt the phone forward a little bit so they have a nice clean visual of the photo. And then, as you build up some suspense, you're going to basically first contact the playing card underneath with your thumb. So in exposed angle it looks kind of like this. But from the front, I'm going to have my index finger contact this corner of the card, okay? So this corner right over here, this one right there, that's where my index finger is going to be contacting. So I'm not going to be contacting the center of the transparency or that corner over there. I want to contact that corner right over there, because when I pull it out with one finger, you're going to want to do this with one finger, because any other fingers, if you're using two fingers, it's going to move the photo around like that, which is not what you want to do. You want to slide the transparency off while not moving the photo like that. And then the other fingers are going to basically act as a bit of a cover as well when you're hiding the transparency behind your other fingers, and then you're going to expose the playing card. Now it sounds a little bit confusing, so let me just show you. So again, my hand comes over, my thumb is going to contact the playing card. Now I don't want it too deep into the playing card, and I also want to push this and slide it basically so it's at the edge of the phone so it's easy for me to retrieve. So right over here, exposed angle again, contact this, and I'm going to slide the transparency and the playing card. Now if I do this in super slow motion, it's going to look something kind of like this without my other fingers. So now I basically have the card and the transparency pinched between my thumb and my index finger, but the other fingers are going to aid in bringing the transparency back and holding the playing card at my fingertips. So this is basically kind of the end position that I want to be in, and I want to cover, any windows that I have between my fingers so they can't see the transparency. So in an exposed angle, this is the situation I am in right now. Okay, transparency is a little bit hard to see, which is great for live. Next, I'm going to rotate my fingers up like this. Now, I'm just kind of doing this a little bit awkwardly for camera purposes, but you're just basically going to pull it out, and you're going to rotate up, and then drop it into their hands. But let me just show you a bit of a close-up what's happening over here. I'm rotating to palm up, making sure my fingers are still closed and the transparency is in finger palm. It's going to drop into basically a finger palm position. So in exposed angle, it's going to look something kind of like this. I'm going to let the transparency fall into my hand like that. So it's going to be in a finger palm, just resting on my hands. And then I'm going to drop this into my spectator's hand, and then just casually bring my hand down. And while this is in the spectator's hand, I'm in the situation where I just pulled this out and my hands were kind of like this. And I pulled it out, dropped it in their hands, and basically I'm going to bring this phone over to my right hand and cover the transparency. And it makes everything look super clean, like you have nothing in your hands except for the phone. But underneath the phone is actually the transparency being hidden. And once they've unfolded the card to make sure that the prediction hits, you can go back and make sure that there's nothing fishy about the photo. There are other photos as well, and it's completely normal. And you can hand that phone back, and when you do so, you're basically going to cop this transparency out, palm facing down so they can't see anything, and just big motion hides a little motion. And this can simply go into your back pocket, and the effect is done. And of course, if they don't believe you, ask them to follow your Instagram and see if there's anything weird about it. And you gain one new lovely follower on your Instagram, which is great. Now, I'm not going to just leave it at that. I want to take it a step back over here. The execution of pulling out the photo into reality, you might want to do it quick because you think, oh, quick and visual, and you're a little nervous about it. But actually doing it slower is better, doing it slow and smooth, because number one, they don't know what to expect, and number two, the visual of you interacting with that photo is much more clear and looks that much more impossible. So when you're doing it slow and smooth, it looks like you really are shifting that playing card out from the photo and into reality, and you just give this to your spectator, and that's it. And that concludes the handling for this effect. Now, it's pretty easy to do. Make sure that you put in the practice that it deserves so that you can make sure that everything is silky smooth, you're very natural with it so that there's no hiccups and anything like that. Just practice the moves in front of a mirror and watch for your angles as well. Now, this is a pretty basic application, but having that visual twist of interacting with the photo just makes it so much more powerful, and it'll just leave their jaws dropped. Now again, the mystery card plot is so versatile, so you can adapt other things like a signed card by using a Mercury fold, or even our product called V2F, where you can visually vanish the spectator's signed card, and then it's already folded, and you can just load it underneath the phone and then pull it out. It's amazing. Or if you have your own card index system, your favorite one, you can just fold it up, load it into the phone, and however you want to do it, that reveal is just astonishing. So that's it, guys. All you gotta do is just put that transparency and folded up card in your pocket and carry that everyday deck of cards that you already carry in your pocket, and whenever you see the moment where the opportunity arises to impress, you can do this application. Alright, let's talk about the money application. Now, what I love about this is how casual the miracle is. You're doing something with an everyday object, something relatable, money, right? What I also like about it is that it's a lightweight carry. You don't have to carry a deck of cards or anything like that. It's just a folded up bill and transparency. So whenever you find yourself in an everyday situation and you see an opportunity where you can, make their day, and they're just fiddling on their phone and you're thinking, wow, I want to make their day special today, you can definitely do this trick. Now, another thing is that if you've been playing around with the playing card application, you're starting to feel comfortable with the effect. You're thinking, wow, this is actually not that hard. I like this. I think I can perform this. The handling is pretty much the same. You're just loading the bill underneath and using the exact same principle that was taught earlier. So let's run through it. All right, let's breeze through the handling. Now, it's a lot like the playing card application, so all you have to do is make your own transparency with the folded up bill like this. And again, we have provided the PDF, so all you have to do is print it out onto the matte side of the transparency, cut it out, stick it together. Okay, the matte side facing together, not stick it together yet, but what you're going to do is going to dab some super glue on the edge, and you end up with something like this once you clean up the edge. Very simple stuff. And then, of course, you want to fold up the bill in the same manner. $1 American bill, okay? Now, technically, you can do this with any currency. If you want to do your own design, you can go ahead and do so for the currency in your region. It's not very hard. Then you fold it up so it's the same orientation like that. And then, of course, you're using the same photo as your playing card if you wish. Now, in this case, I'm using the same one as a playing card. When I put this on top and stick it in place, now once I put it in place, it looks like this. Looks super legitimate. I love it. Even up close, it looks super deceiving. And once you've figured out the orientation and how you want to load the bill as well, so in this case, I want it facing together like this, right? So when I load the bill, it's going to have to end up in this position, like that, if I'm loading it from my left hand. So I'll be putting it in my back pocket, just like the playing card, so it's easy to retrieve, and I'll load it in that manner. Okay, so you take the transparency away, put that into your front pocket, so it's easy to retrieve. And this is your spectator's borrowed phone, and if they don't have a phone but you still want to perform the effect, of course, you're welcome to use your very own as well. But it's always nice to use a borrowed object. So putting this phone away first, the first thing you're going to do is that before you approach your victims and you're going to perform and blow their minds, what's going to happen is you're going to actually need to get in position first so that you have the transparency clipped between your second finger and third finger like this, index and middle, okay? Just like the playing card. So if you're already familiar with that, it's pretty much the same thing. What you're going to do is just rest your hand on the side as you're clipped. Now, I know the table's kind of covering it, but what I'm doing is basically I'm just facing the back of my hand to the spectator's eyes, and then, just relaxing my hands to the side. So you ask, hey, can I borrow your phone? And you can be pretty free with this, especially with the thumb as additional cover. And you're going to say, oh, hey, can you actually unlock it for me? Pull up Instagram. And then once that happens, all you're going to do is go to the Explore tab again, and you're going to type in your, account, the motion of going up with the phone. You're going to feed the transparency up in that motion. And then you're going to adjust it in place with your two fingers. You're going to basically try and find that specific photo. And there you go. You have it in position. And what's going to happen is that depending on your presentation, maybe you're saying, hey, I actually have a very interesting way to store my money. I actually put it on my Instagram. No, not like digital, like PayPal or anything like that. Let me just show you. You pull up the photo, or at least you pretend to, and then you show them in this manner. And again, just like the playing card, you're going to tilt your body over, so that the attention is on the phone. They're taking a look at the photo. Even up close, this looks incredibly deceiving. And what you're going to do is you're going to grab that bill that's tucked away in your pocket, make sure it's the right orientation, and you can of course feel for it with your thumb and make sure, this is where the flaps are, this is facing the right orientation. This is how I want to feed it underneath my phone. So once you feel that, and make sure that happens, just like the playing card, you're going to feed it underneath as you're switching hands and asking, hey, can you take out your hand from me? Because what's going to happen is you're going to pull this out and then put it in their hands for them to unfold the bill. You're going to readjust your grip so you're holding onto the bill but not flashing it, and also regripping so you can actually hold onto the phone. So in this manner. So once you're gripping the phone in your ready position, you're going to make sure once again that the orientation of the bill is correct, just for that nice little visual. So yep, that's it. And you can feel for that with the flaps underneath the phone as well if you really need to. But just practice and you'll be able to basically keep the orientation with no trouble at all as you're readjusting your grip from here to here. So just like the playing card, what you're going to do is you're going to contact the bill with your thumb. So you're holding it with a nice little grip. Let me show you an exposed angle, kind of like that. The index finger is going to contact one side of the transparency over here, and the rest of the fingers will be covering the bill as you're pulling it. But remember that you're only contacting the screen and the transparency with just one finger. Otherwise, the photo will move and it'll disturb the illusion. So you want a nice clean visual of it sliding, just like the playing card, like that. You're going to tuck away the transparency so it's hidden behind your fingers. You're going to rotate your fingers up like this, and then the transparency is in finger palm. And then you can hand this out however you wish, just like that, or just drop it in their hands from this position. And then, let's say that I just dropped it like this into their hand. I'm going to bring the phone over to my other hand, so it drops over the transparency, hiding it underneath the phone. As the bill is in their hands, what you're going to do is, have them unfold it. This is a clean display that there's nothing in your hands right now, nothing's fishy going on. And once they are, making sure that that bill is normal, and it's like, oh my gosh, that really is money in my hands right now that you pulled out from the Instagram photo, you further convince them and have this beautiful moment of going back and showing, hey, there's some other photos, there's nothing suspicious going on, and if you feel like there's anything fishy going on, go ahead and follow my account, check out the photos. It is all as legit as it seems. And you hand this back and just cop this out. All you have to do is just, rotate your wrist over and then just casually rest it on the side. And whenever you find the opportunity to, you just put it back into your pocket and that's it. You're squeaky clean. It's as simple as that. And a nice little joke you can say is, maybe they're saying, hey, can you do it again? You pull more money out, and you can just say, oh, follow my account. Maybe you can see, the bill appear again tomorrow. Something along those lines. Whatever line you want to use, they'll definitely be interested in who you are and what kind of magic you can do. So that is the handling for the bill application. As you can see, it's not very hard to do, and I know you'll pick it up in no time. So I hope you enjoy trying this one out. Now for this application, not only are you interacting with a photo, you're dragging it onto your bare skin, then placing it on there as a tattoo. That's amazing. They can feel it and make sure it's really on there. What's great about this is that you can actually incorporate your own designs if you wish to do so once you understand the principle. However, in this download, we are providing you a PDF of the star symbol that we used in the trailer. Basically, we were using an ESP symbol and then dragging that on top as a tattoo. However, this is totally customizable. Maybe you already have a tattoo on your arm and you want to use that. You can take a picture of it, and then you can apply the same principle and then drag that onto yourself as well if you wish to do so. And as for the picture that you upload on Instagram, just play around with it. Take a picture of either a tattoo book, maybe the same kind of photo that we used in our trailer as well. All it is just basically a piece of paper printed out with some ESP symbols, except for the star one, which is the one that you will be dragging onto your skin. So basically you're doing the exact same thing. If you're using, if you're taking a picture of like tattoo book, just Photoshop out one of the designs that you're going to be dragging out, or it can just be a blank photo and you can just have that one picture or one design of the tattoo which you will be dragging out. But it's such a beautiful moment when they check out your Instagram account and they will have no choice but to follow you and see if there's anything else going on there. How is that even possible? Now, as visually impossible as this looks, dragging a design onto your bare skin as a tattoo, it's surprisingly not that hard to actually perform. Once you get a hang of the routine, there's not a lot to it. Yeah, with all that being said, let's dive right into it. All right, let's get into the prep and handling for the effect. So right now you have a transparency printed out and cut, so it looks very nice and clean. Right over here is a star. Now, depending on your design, what you're going to want to do is also draw or stamp the matching design that you'll be dragging onto your bare skin. Okay. Now, for this example, we actually bought this from a dollar store, a stamp right over here. This is a bit of like a design right over here. We have an ink pad, black ink, applied some ink onto it and then stamped it on top, and then just to fill in any gray areas, I used a Sharpie marker and just filled it in so it's nice and black. So you can do the exact same thing. I just bought that from a dollar store, or you can just freehand it. It's up to you. But as long as you have a matching design, that's where I like to tuck it in, just in the inner part right over here. That way, when I'm performing a spectator, I can just lean over like this and they will not be able to see anything if I keep my elbow close to my body. Or if you're wearing a jacket or a sweater, you can just roll it up so that it covers over here. So when you're doing the final reveal, all you gotta do is just push up the sleeve a little bit and then do that final reveal. Okay, it's totally up to you. However, I feel like personally when I'm using a short sleeve shirt, it's a little more impossible because it feels so much more fair. Now, one quick thing with the transparency is that you actually can just, work with one layer as opposed to two layers mirrored and then, sandwiching it together. Because for the ink, to darken it and, make sure that it looks very nice and crisp, is to use Sharpie marker and just fill it in the matte side. That way you get a nice black star right over here. What's going to happen is this is going to go in your pocket, your front left pocket, so it's easy to retrieve. This phone is your spectator's board phone, so I'm just going to place this away for now. So when you see the people that you want to perform to, all right, just one thing to make sure that you do is not flash the design if you don't have a sleeve covering it. Okay. Second thing is that you're going to get into the prep position, and how you're going to do that is you're going to casually just go into your pocket. So before you approach your spectator, you're going to flip the star design between your index finger and your middle finger like this, and then your thumb's going to rest on top like that. And then right now on top of the table it looks a little bit strange, but if you relax your hand to your side and just let loose and just let it dangle, it looks super casual, like you're not hiding anything. And just make sure that the back of your hand is facing your spectator's eye, and just keep it close to your body so you don't flash. And you just ask, hey, can I borrow your phone? Let me show you something really amazing. And as long as you keep it loose and just let it dangle, no one's going to suspect that you're hiding anything, okay? Especially if they don't know what to expect. So this is how my hands are right now. Okay, before you approach your spectator, you want to make sure there's a little bit of moisture. You're going to put it on the glossy side, okay, so it actually sticks onto the phone. And of course, you want the glossy side facing down, okay, because when you place this on the spectator's phone screen, you want to make sure that it actually sticks onto the phone. So moisture side right there, just a small dab. Now this can either be, your spit, just lick your index finger and just dab it, or you can use condensation from a glass of water, cold glass of water, or you can just breathe on it on the glossy side. Doesn't really matter as long as you have a little bit of moisture so it sticks on the phone. But once you're prepared and you just have your hands dangling very freely, this is a very free position. You'll ask for the phone, hey, let me show you something really amazing. So you have them unlock the phone, they pull up Instagram, okay, you're gonna go to the Explore tab and you're gonna find your account with the photo. So what's going to happen is you're going to load this transparency underneath the phone. So very casually, you're just going to tilt your wrist up and you're going to grip the phone so you can actually type. Okay, you still have this clipped underneath the phone right over here. They don't see anything because the phone screen is pointing up right now. You're going to basically search for your account, type it in, and then once you find it, what's going to happen is the big motion is going to cover the little motion. The big motion being from moving the phone from this position, from a low position to a high position, so they can't see what's going on. It looks like you're just looking for the right photo, which is your ESP symbol photo over here. And what's going to happen is that's going to cover the motion of you moving your hand. You're going to tilt your hand, rotate it a little bit like this, so the fingers come up, the transparency clears. Okay, I'm going to see if I can show you this as clear as possible. It's going to clear the screen. You're going to push the transparency with your thumb and slide it on top of the phone. And then because of the moisture, it's going to stay in place. And it can be a little bit tricky at first, but once you get the hang of it, it's very simple. All you're doing is just typing it, and then the big motion is going to hide the little motion, and it happens so fast and you're not going to see a thing. Now once it's on the screen, you're going to find the appropriate photo, and then you're going to adjust the star or the tattoo design, so it works with the orientation. Of course, they don't see this because you're in a high position like this, so you're going to adjust it. And then once you get it in position and you see that it is the right orientation, you're just going to fake swipe like you're looking for the photo, and then one final tap. Ah, that's the photo. And then you're going to show them the design. And this looks super convincing. Look at that on camera. Even up close, they're not going to be able to see anything suspicious about it. It really looks legitimate, like it's part of the photo. So what's going to happen now is you're going to, of course, watch for this. You don't want to flash that if you're just wearing short sleeves. Next, you're going to rotate the phone so it's like this, and you can hold onto the phone and also show clearly the tattoo design. You want to tilt the phone down so they have a clear visual of it. So this is all facing towards the spectator right now, still concealing the design. What's going to happen is you're going to take one finger. One finger is going to contact this side of the star. And you can only use one finger so that it doesn't move around too much. If you're just moving it up like that, it won't swipe around. But if you're using multiple fingers like this, as you can see, the photo will move and it'll ruin the illusion. So you want to be careful of that. You actually only want to contact with one finger. The rest of the fingers are going to be there as additional cover so they don't see the star. So you're going to bring this over, you're going to drag the star, okay, an exposed angle looks like this. You're going to drag it so it falls into your hand. You're going to close your fingers to make sure that it doesn't slip through the windows or anything like that. So when you're holding the phone, just make sure that your fingers are closed and you have a nice clean display of the phone and the screen. So again, from here, you're going to drag the tattoo design. I'm just going to show you with one finger. You're going to drag it up like this. It's going to fall into your hands. As you continue the motion, okay, of dragging it all the way to your arm. And of course, you don't want to reveal too soon. You want to have your other fingers there, and then you can rotate your hand, drop the phone so it covers the transparency, it doesn't expose it. Slowly rotate your body, and then you're going to apparently set the tattoo or design in place to finally reveal that it's on your bare skin, just like that, and they can feel it and it doesn't come off. And that's such a magical moment. Right now, it looks very fair right now because your fingers are open, but in reality, the phone is just covering the transparency. What's going to happen next is you're just going to tilt forward a little bit so that the transparency is in a finger palm position, or you can just have it, over here, it doesn't really matter, but you're just going to basically hand out the phone. So if it's in finger palm position, it's a little bit easier. All you gotta do is just say, oh, check this out, go back and see that there's no other photos or any other tattoo designs. Now this one's for the playing card, but if there's any other photos on your Instagram, then they can swipe up and down, they can follow you and make sure there's nothing suspicious about it, there's no other tattoo designs. So at this point, all you gotta do is just basically palm facing down. You're just gonna casually drop your hand like this as you hand the phone back to them. And they can go ahead and check it out. Everything's very fair at that point, and you are left completely clean. So now that you know the basic mechanic of the effect, I want to quickly talk to you a little bit about choosing the star. Now, you can go ahead and just introduce this photo and just say, hey, let's try something with one of these symbols, and you just drag the star. And it doesn't really matter what it is just as impactful. However, let's say that you want the spectators to choose one. It can't be a free choice, so you have to use your favorite force. I suggest just using a magician's force. Just say, can you just choose, top or bottom row? Leave them with the bottom row. So, for example, just say, all right, let's do something with one of the rows. Say top or bottom, and if they say bottom, you stay with that one. If they say top, all right, we'll get rid of the top one. However you want to script it, but basically, you want to leave yourself with the star. Or another option, just saying, hey, what's your favorite symbol? You're performing to a group of people and you say, everyone, say what their favorite symbol is. Someone says star. Oh, pick that one. And just say, oh, you said star. Let's try with the star. Or if maybe, let's say, no one says star and you say, I noticed that no one said the star, but that's my favorite one. Let's try something with it. However you want to do it, just make it very casual. But just remember the core effect is that you are dragging something from a photo, a design from an Instagram photo that they can check later onto your bare skin and into a tattoo they can feel. Now, one more thing I want to talk about is potentially having the design not onto your own skin, but onto your spectator's skin. So how would you achieve that? So remember how I introduced the stamp from earlier? So there's a star right over here. I bought this from a dollar store. You can even cut this out yourself. You can even cut it out from an eraser. And what you can do is just have an ink pad. And before you go out to your spectators to perform, just dab some ink on the ink pad, okay? And then you put this in your pocket, okay? In your jacket pocket or your front pocket, it doesn't really matter. And I'm just going to basically talk through what's going to happen if you want to have the tattoo onto your spectator. So basically everything goes as follows, up until the point where you load the transparency and you reveal the photo. You say, look at these beautiful symbols right over here. Which one's your favorite? Whatever your presentation is. And what's going to happen is, while they're admiring the photos, you're going to basically take this out from your pocket as you lean over and you say, check out all these symbols. So you're leaning your body over. You're going to grab the stamp from either your jacket pocket or your left pants pocket, whatever is easy to retrieve, with the ink pointing up so you can stamp them. So you're having this rested in finger palm position. You're going to say, oh yeah, my favorite's a star, whatever you want to say. And then you're going to say, can you take out both hands for me? And when they do that, they're going to have both their hands out like this. So you're going to stamp them and then move them apart. And then once they have their hand out, it's the same thing as before. All you're doing is just dragging the transparency, and then all they have to do is just turn their hand over, and they can see that the star is actually on their hand. Now the Rubik's Cube application is a lot like the playing card one and the money one. So you're basically going to take a photo first, that is of you tossing a Rubik's Cube into the air, right over here. Okay, and you're just going to take a photo of you doing that in midair and then crop it and upload it on Instagram so it looks like this. So that way, when you prepare your transparency, right over here, it looks just like you're tossing a cube up like that into midair. And of course this looks so visually deceiving, it legitimately looks like a photo of you tossing up a Rubik's Cube. Now one quick tip is that you want to make sure that when you're taking the photo, the ratio actually works out. So it looks like you're tossing in the midair and that the transparency isn't protruding out from the photo, otherwise that doesn't look realistic. You want to make sure that when you're taking your photo of your hand and also printing out the transparency and trying it out, it actually looks good. So once I've played around with the photo and made sure that this is on my Instagram and ready to perform, I'm going to put this phone away first. You're going to put your transparency, with a bit of moisture on the glossy side. And you're going to put it in your pocket so it's easy to retrieve in this position so I can feed this on top of the screen. This is going to go in my back pocket. Now one quick thing is that when you're working with a more three-dimensional object, such as this cube right over here, it's going to be a little bit tricky at first because it's a bigger object for you to conceal and also pull out. So if you haven't watched the other applications, such as the playing card one or the money one, I highly suggest that you practice those first so you get comfortable with the handling. And once you're feeling a little bit confident with that, then move up to the Rubik's Cube. Now, if you're feeling a little bit ambitious and you want to just work with the cube and you don't really care much for the other ones, then go ahead. Feel free to do so. However, I do want to give you some fair warning that it may feel a little bit uncomfortable at first. But as with all things, once you put in the practice, you will definitely be able to do it, and I believe that you can. So once it's in your back pocket, so you have the Rubik's Cube and the transparency over here. Now before you go and perform, you're going to need to get the transparency into the appropriate position. So it's in your index finger and your middle finger, right over here, just like the other handlings. You're going to keep your thumb in place, and of course you're just going to dangle very loosely. Now before you clip this between your fingers like this, you want to make sure that this actually has some moisture on the glossy side so it'll stick on the phone. Otherwise it'll move around and it won't stay in place, and that's not good. So what you want to do is either just lick your finger and then just a small dab and it'll stay on the phone. Or, you basically know the principle that it's moisture that's keeping it in place on the phone. So you can either just breathe on it a little bit, or you can use the condensation from a glass of water. As long as there's a little bit of liquid on it, not too much, it'll stay on the phone and you will be completely safe. And whenever you want to perform it, you just ask for the phone, have them unlock the phone, and also bring it to their Instagram. You're going to feed it underneath, and then in the motion of you, bringing the phone from a low position to the high position. So once you type in your Instagram and you find it, still you're going to keep it clipped. Still keeping it clipped from a low position to a... Still keeping it clipped. You're going to move the phone from a low position. Still keeping it clipped. You're going to move the phone from a low position to a high position. So once you find the photo and you pull it up, pretend to swipe, and then you show them, right over here I have a photo of a lovely little Rubik's Cube. As you can see, it looks very deceiving. And just like the other handlings, you're going to turn your body over, you're going to retrieve the cube since the hand is out of sight, and then you want to load it underneath. Now this can be a little bit tricky because you're using a more solid object, so I suggest that you tilt down a little more so you have a little more surface area to cover the cube. And of course you want to load it kind of at the last minute. You want to rotate your wrist. So you might, you can potentially flash if you do it too early, so you don't want to do that. So just keep it very casual, keep it very loose. So you're going to ask for their hand and you're going to load the cube. Now, in terms of the hand position of the phone and the Rubik's Cube, now from the front, it looks like you're just simply holding onto the phone. However, from an exposed angle, you're basically clipping onto the cube and the phone like so. So you're keeping a grip of that, and you're still, pointing the screen towards them. And what you're going to do is, as they're taking out their hand, they're going to reposition the phone so you're holding it in a manner where it's easy for you to take out the cube. Now, once you're in this position, now in this case, again, I'm using the index finger and the thumb, you're basically going to keep it in place with your ring finger underneath over here and your pinky to support it in the back, and your middle finger in the front, kind of like this. So from another angle, it's going to look something kind of like this. Ring finger in the bottom and the pinky to keep it in place. Okay. Now, of course, you're tilting the phone forward so that they can have a nice clear visual of the cube and the photo. Now, you're going to make sure that the cube is in the same orientation as the photo. It doesn't need to match exactly. However, I like to pick a side that is nice and colorful, has a variety of colors, and that's the way I feed it onto the phone. And then you want to make sure that's rotated so it's 3/4 like the photo, because if you take it out from the photo and the photo is 3/4 and then you take it out like this where it's flat, it doesn't look as visually appealing as it could be. So once it's in place and you're holding it again with your fingers, you're going to contact it with your thumb. Okay, you want to hold basically the edge of the Rubik's Cube over here. So let me show you at a different angle. You're going to contact it with your thumb right over here. You want to make sure that it's near the edge of the phone. You don't want it to shifted from the front. That just makes it a little bit harder for yourself. So you want it over here and contacting your thumb. Your middle finger is going to contact the bottom of this photo, this transparency right over here. This corner right there is where your middle finger is going to be. Right there. Now when you're contacting the transparency with one finger, just make sure you're only using one finger when you're pulling it, because if you use any other fingers, the photo will move around and it'll ruin the illusion. So you want to make sure that your thumb goes in to contact the cube, okay, the edge of the cube. Your middle finger is the only thing that's going to be sliding it. The other fingers are there for cover at the once you pull out the transparency. You're going to pull just like the other handlings. You're going to pull it up with the Rubik's Cube, and basically what's going to happen is you're going to pull these fingers so you're exposing as much of the cube as possible while pushing basically forward with your thumb. So for a better look at what's going on, basically you have your middle finger on the corner of that transparency over there, and then you're basically pulling back with your fingers as you're pushing forward with your thumb, so you're exposing as much of the cube as possible. So you're basically just holding it at the tip of your fingers. So that's a very nice little visual over there. So just like the other handlings, you're going to pull it out like this. You're going to rotate your fingers so that the transparency falls into finger palm or into your hand, doesn't really matter. And then you're going to let this cube fall into the spectator's hand as well. And they can examine it and make sure that it really is a cube. And just like the other handlings, you're going to take back the phone, put it on top of the hand with the transparency so everything looks clean. And then you turn the attention back onto the phone. You go back and show that there's nothing fishy about your Instagram account that they can go ahead and check out. Caught the transparency and hand out the phone. And the effect is done. It's as simple as that. Now, one quick detail I want to mention is that you want to hold a beat before you go in to grab it, and also a beat after you pull out the object as well. So after you do this, do it nice and slow, and then you pull it out. Once you're in this position, you want to make sure that you're holding a beat so they can digest the visual before you tilt your wrist up and then dropping it into their hands. And it is already in finger palm. So those two beats are very important because you want them to actually register the visual as clearly as possible, and they can't do that if you do it too fast. So that's just a quick tip to watch out for when you're practicing and performing this effect. So that's the handling for the Rubik's Cube application. Not a lot to it actually. It's a pretty simple effect. And I totally feel for you if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed right now after watching the handling. You're just thinking, wow, Herman, it actually is a little bit challenging, working around with that Rubik's Cube, loading it underneath the phone, and and then, shifting the position of the phone and pulling it out, it's a little bit tricky at first, and I totally agree with you. However, if you do put in the practice, practice it in front of a mirror and make everything feel very natural, as with all effects, do put in that practice, promise you that you're going to rock this effect and you're going to go out and perform this in no time. And guys, it's totally worth it when you're pulling out a three-dimensional object from a photo from the spectator's borrowed phone. I personally think nothing beats that, in this day and age as a casual performer using technology, something that people are so intimate with that they use in their daily lives. And that's it, guys. That is this Rubik's Cube application. I hope you really enjoy it. Hey guys, it's Herman here from Sans Minds Magic, and welcome to the Goldfish application for our Instagram series. By now, you probably understand the principle, you have a deep understanding of how it all works. I assume you've watched the 4 other applications. I highly recommend that you do before reaching this one. Now, for this effect, it's not exactly one of those table hoppers that you can do all the time. This is for those special events and special moments where you want to really catch people off with this magical surprise. And when they go through this handling, I'm not going to go through all the details in terms of how to, put the transparency in place like that, all that stuff. You should have an understanding of how to do all of that by now. So I'm going to basically breeze through it and just tell you how it's done with, just talk over it and also with some of the motion, and you will understand it. Now, fair warning, you are working with an animal here. It's not a prop, it's a life. So be sure that you're gentle with it. You don't want to be aggressive with your handling and potentially harm the animal. And it's such a beautiful application and concept because you're basically bringing life to something, especially from your spectator's borrowed phone, making it so much more impossible and astonishing. Preferably, I would suggest that you do this for those special occasions and only then. Yeah, let's get into the handling. Now for the transparency, we have a goldfish transparency using the exact same way that was taught earlier. You can print out your own transparency of a goldfish. And we provide you the design as well, so you can just print it out on the transparency sheet, cut it out, so it fits the image that will be uploaded on your Instagram. Now, we provide you the image as well, just in case you can't find the right one with the right ratio. So if I just kind of dim this down a little bit, you can see that this is how the photo looks like. And basically, once you put the transparency on top, it looks like the goldfish is swimming in the image. Now, basically, using the exact same principle, you can probably guess how it's done already, but how do you actually hold the goldfish so it's workable for yourself? Now, what you want to do is store the goldfish in a thumb tip, like this. Now, goldfishes don't stay alive for very long if you keep them out of water, so when you perform this effect, just make sure that you're aware of how much time you're consuming when you're scripting and choosing a presentation to work for this routine. But if you put it in this thumb tip for a little bit, it will last for a few minutes, so just be aware of that. And of course, you want to be gentle with the goldfish as well, and I'm going to provide you 2 ways to do it, okay? One is that you're going to basically retrieve the goldfish the same way as the other applications, where you basically lean over as you show the photo, and then retrieve the goldfish, so it's basically in finger palm. You can clip the tail a little bit over here between your index finger and middle finger. Now basically what's going to happen with transparency is your goldfish is over here, resting with your fingers. You can clip it again between your index finger and your middle finger, just the tail. And you want to, be very gentle with this animal because, it's a life. You don't want to be aggressive with it and just toss it into the water. Basically what's going to happen is you're going to basically steal this transparency with your left hand, and you're going to let go of the goldfish so it falls into the water. And basically you're clipping onto the transparency in finger palm, like this. And then once the goldfish is out from the phone and drops into the water, you can just rest your hand to the side and the effect is done. So that's number 1. That's the first way that you can do it. Just basically you're stealing transparency and also letting go of the goldfish. The second way is that you can actually load the thumb tip behind the phone. However, it's a little bit bulkier, it's a little bit riskier to flash. However, you want to make sure that the fish is okay and keep it kind of protected in the thumb tip before you actually release it into the water. Then this is an option for you. So basically with the thumb tip, you're going to secretly load it underneath. You're going to keep the goldfish in place with your middle finger, like this, so it doesn't fall out, or your other fingers as well if it's a bigger thumb tip. And then you're basically going to do the exact same thing. In this case, with my other hand, I'm going to steal the transparency, and also let go of my other fingers so the fish will actually fall out from underneath the phone. So I steal it with my right hand, the exact same way. Let the fish fall into the water, This is in finger palm, rest your hands, and then clean up by putting this in your pocket. All the attention is on the goldfish, and you can just cop this thumb tip away as you hand back the phone to your spectator. So that is basically how it's done. With the basic understanding of all the other applications, you understand how you can achieve this one. And it will take some practice. I would suggest, obviously don't practice with the goldfish yet, because you want to make sure that you're not harming any animals and when you're practicing this. But when the time is right, when you have this special occasion where you want to do something a little bit extra, you can definitely do this because of how beautiful it is. And that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this goldfish application. So guys, that is the Instagram project. I know you guys are just itching to take these out and perform them and just watch your followers grow on your Instagram. Each of these applications are so powerful and they're all so fun to perform, and I hope you enjoy them as much as I do. Now, what I love about these are that they're pretty much lightweight carries, especially the bill application. All you gotta do is just have a folded up bill, a transparency, and when you spot someone with a phone and you wanna just knock their socks off, you can go ahead and do so. So with that being said, if you have any further questions about the effect or each of the applications, anything like that, or just regarding with Sans Minds, feel free to send us a message and we'll always be more than happy to help. Now, as usual, stay tuned to us on our social media platforms, whether it's our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, all that good stuff on our mailing list, because you want to stay in the loop. You're not going to want to miss out anything we have in store for you guys, because they're all super amazing and we're really excited to share them with you. So that is it, guys. That is the project. I hope you really enjoy it. Again, my name is Herman. I'll see you guys next time.